Hello, I'm William Bloodworth with the Bloodworth Law Firm. As anyone who's gone through a divorce can tell you, the process is rarely easy. Tensions run high and couples often make poor decisions in the heat of the battle. Divorces can get quite ugly, particularly when there isn't a prenuptial agreement. Here are 10 things not to do when getting a divorce. Number 1, don't get pregnant. Having a baby during your divorce complicates a lot of things and could even hinder your right to a divorce. In Texas, a pregnant woman may not obtain a divorce before she is delivered of her child. Texas state law presumes a pregnant woman's husband to be the father of her child born up to 300 days after her divorce. The most common factor that turns a normal divorce into a contentious one is dating or bringing another person with whom you have a romantic or dating relationship into the mix. Number 2, don't use children as weapons. Threatening to limit or deny visitation is a powerful threat and can terrify a parent who loves his child. Often parents who are the primary caregivers but who lack the financial resources feel that they must use this threat to gain sufficient financial support. As painful as these threats are, do not respond in kind. Don't issue threats of your own. Instead, recognize that in most cases the truth will come out. If you've been a good, responsible parent, your spouse likely cannot deny you a chance to see your kids on a regular basis. And more importantly, the court won't allow it in most instances. Never disregard your children's feelings or allow yourself to believe that your children don't need you in their lives. Don't ever get to the point that seeing your children is more painful than not seeing them. If you are a non-custodial parent and are dealing with such pain, then suck it up. The long-term consequences and negative impact of not having their parent in their lives outweighs the emotional pain that you now feel. Never refuse to visit and spend time with your children. Remember, how your children turn out in life is determined in a large part to what you do or don't do correctly. Remember, don't take it out on the kids. Number 3, don't allow your spouse to convince you not to hire an attorney. If your spouse has hired a lawyer, you need to hire one quickly. If you don't, you are an amateur playing against a professional. One underhand tactic is for a spouse's attorney to offer to represent both parties to save time and money. Not only is this unethical, but it also creates a legal conflict of interest. The process of law is designed to be an adversarial one, and there is no way a lawyer can fairly represent you and your spouse. The odds that your spouse has something to hide or something that they want, and they know that if you hire a lawyer, it will be more difficult to achieve that goal. Number 4, don't use verbal abuse. Just about everyone who gets a divorce argues. Not everyone, however, engages in continuous verbal battles in which threats and vile accusations become routine forms of communication. Furthermore, if it is you who's engaging in the verbal abuse, remember that your spouse can easily obtain an order of protection, and any violation of that order can land you in jail. Number 5, don't push your spouse's buttons. Never play the blame game. Blame or causing someone else to feel shame just because you are experiencing a negative feeling is unacceptable. Divorce hurts, and it hurts all involved. Be as conscientious to the feelings of others as you are to your own feelings. Never be afraid to hear the truth. Get outside objective opinions on how you are handling the legal and emotional aspects of your divorce. Once you've gotten those opinions, don't disregard them just because they are not what you want to hear. Finally, never believe you didn't play some role in the marital problems. Number 6, don't hire a Rambo attorney. Antagonistic, ambitious, combative, cutthroat, or intransient lawyers can turn good divorces into bad ones and bad divorces into nightmares. It's not just divorcing spouses that are difficult. Certain lawyers are intent on increasing fees, and they can cleverly manipulate situations to their financial advantage. The result is couples who will fight over the big and little things and invariably wind up in court broke. One additional piece of advice: don't sleep with your lawyer. Interpersonal relationships should remain on a professional level. Any lawyer who would ask you to engage in such activity, or any lawyer who would agree to engage in such activity, is a lawyer you need to stay away from. Number 7, don't settle early. If I had $1 for every time a client told me, "I just want to get this over with," I'd be a rich man. Just because you want out of your marriage immediately does not mean you should forfeit your financial security. Life after divorce can be tough financially, and the divorce proceedings are your only chance to get what you can get. You can't come back later and take another bite at the apple. Your financial security should be of utmost concern to you. Make sure that you and your children will continue to have health insurance during and after the divorce proceedings. While you are still married to your spouse, an illness or an accident can change how property is divided. If you decide to retain legal counsel, remember to bring 3 things to your first meeting with your lawyer so you can assess what you will need once separated: a balance sheet listing the financial assets of the family and debts, and accounting sheet of your income and expenses and your tax return. Becoming passive is the last thing you want to do when your spouse announces to you that they want a divorce. Many people are manipulative, and if they think they can manipulate you into getting what they want out of the divorce, such as money, property, or custody, they will do it. If you are stunned or saddened, you may agree to anything and everything that your spouse recommends or suggests. Don't confuse passivity with being reasonable. My experience is that the shock of divorce soon wears off, and once it does, you're much less vulnerable to making a serious mistake. Number 8, don't argue about who gets what. In most divorces where couples have been married for a number of years, disputes about property arise, and sometimes these arguments are perfectly understandable. These arguments, however, can become completely irrational and vengeance-based. I had a client say, "I would rather incur 10 times the legal fees than what the painting costs, rather than to allow the other spouse to have it." These arguments can be draining emotionally, not to mention financially, but it helps to recognize that no matter how your spouse uses these objects in the bargaining process, the court generally divides property fairly if both spouses have competent attorneys. Make special note not to forget about taxes. Typically, the person who is awarded custody of the children gets the house, but the house may not be the best deal. If you can't afford the mortgage, taxes, and upkeep on the house, you have not made a wise decision if you keep the house in most instances. You want to ask about the investment portfolio and make sure that that also is divided equally or fairly. Number 9, don't increase your debt. Divorce is expensive. On top of attorney's fees, you will need money to set up a new household. Though it may be difficult to make ends meet, you should get used to having less now. Remember, your legal bills and court costs may become due before you receive your first payment of alimony or temporary spousal support, or even your share of the marital property. While it may seem stressful, the freedom you'll enjoy down the line will be well worth the financial sacrifice that you make now. Number 10, don't respond to an impending divorce with anger. The early stages of the divorce process can be highly emotional, and a time when people say things they do not mean or act in an unusual or in uncharacteristic ways. Divorces blow up legally when one person responds to anger with even greater anger, creating an escalating war of attrition that otherwise would have been completely avoided or only amount to a brief skirmish. Remember, stay calm. I hope these 10 things not to do have been helpful to you and provided you with valuable information. We at the Bloodworth Law Firm would like to offer you our services. If we can be of assistance to you, please call us.